Okay, so here's something to think about. The Strait of Hormuz sees about 20% of the world's oil supply pass through it daily. And now it's at the center of a major geopolitical standoff.
That's a staggering number, and it really puts into perspective just how high the stakes are. Let's get into it.
Welcome to DeActa Daily Digest. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Juniper. Here are today's top stories.
Let's start with the escalating tensions in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has launched ballistic missiles targeting U.S. forces and intercepted 3 oil tankers, accusing them of unsafe practices. This comes right after the U.S. paused a bombing campaign to allow for diplomatic talks.
It's a bold move by Iran, and it seems like they're trying to take control of the narrative. Analysts are saying this isn't just a reaction to U.S. actions. It's a calculated attempt to shift the balance of power in the region.
Exactly. And the economic impact was immediate. Oil futures in the U.S. jumped over 4%, with Brent crude climbing above $88 per barrel. The Strait of Hormuz is such a critical choke point for global oil that any disruption sends ripples across the world economy.
And it's not just about oil prices. Iran's interception of those tankers is a clear signal that they want to assert dominance over the strait. They even rejected Oman's proposal for a joint framework to manage maritime traffic, insisting on controlling their side of the lanes independently.
That's a power play, if I've ever seen one. But it's not just Iran and the U.S. in this equation. The U.S. and Saudi Arabia have been conducting joint airstrikes in Iraq, targeting Iran-backed militias. Meanwhile, Iraqi leaders are condemning these strikes and rejecting the use of their territory for attacks on neighboring states.
It's a delicate balance. Iraq is trying to maintain its sovereignty while navigating the pressures from both Iran and the U.S., and then there's Israel, which is urging the U.S. to take a tougher stance on Iran. Netanyahu recently met with Trump, and Israeli intelligence is raising alarms about construction at a suspected underground site near Natanz.
That brings us to the Pickaxe Mountain facility. The U.S. is now threatening a heavy strike on this underground site, which is believed to be a replacement for an above-ground plant destroyed in 2020. It's more than 100 meters beneath rock, making it one of the most fortified sites in Iran.
The timing of this is interesting. Israeli intelligence suggests that thousands of centrifuges were moved into Pickaxe last fall, but the U.S. hasn't confirmed this. Satellite imagery hasn't provided definitive evidence either, so it's unclear what's driving this renewed focus.
Trump has said the U.S. will strike the site pretty soon and very heavily. But military experts are debating whether such a strike would even be effective. The facility's depth and fortifications make it a tough target, even for advanced bunker buster munitions.
And that raises the question, what's the goal here? Is it about destroying the site entirely or just sealing the entrances to deny Iran access? Either way, it's not a permanent solution. Iran has a history of re-excavating tunnels after attacks, so this could turn into a prolonged game of whack-a-mole.
Even if the U.S. succeeds in rendering Pickaxe unusable, it's largely symbolic. Iran's nuclear capabilities are extensive, and targeting one site won't erase their broader enterprise. It's a high-stakes game with no easy answers.
Speaking of high stakes, let's pivot to something a bit lighter, but still fiercely competitive. The 2030 World Cup Power Rankings. Spain is at the top of the list, which isn't surprising given their dominant performance in the 2026 World Cup.
Not surprising at all. Spain's 2026 campaign was practically flawless. Only 1 goal conceded across 8 matches, and they dominated the individual honors. Rodri won the Golden Ball. Unai Simon took the Golden Glove, and their youth to senior pathway is unmatched.
France is right behind them, though, and they've got Kylian Mbappé, who's now the all-time leading scorer in men's World Cup history. But there's some uncertainty with their managerial transition to Zinedine Zidane. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
And then there's England, always the perennial, almost there team. They've got talent in players like Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane, but they'll need to figure out their tactical identity. Thomas Tuchel's approach in 2026 was inconsistent, and that cost them in key moments.
Portugal is another interesting case. They're transitioning out of the Cristiano Ronaldo era, but they've got a young core and the advantage of co-hosting parts of the 2030 tournament with Spain. That could give them a boost if they can solidify their tactical leadership.
Brazil, on the other hand, seems to be in a bit of a generational limbo. They've got attacking talent, but their squad in 2026 was one of the oldest. They'll need to commit to a rebuild around younger players like Vinicius Jr. and Gabriel Martinelli if they want to be serious contenders.
And then there's Morocco, who've become Africa's leading hopeful. Their youth structure is solid, but they'll need to address goal-scoring limitations and injuries if they want to make a deeper run in 2030.
Argentina is another team in transition. They made it to the final in 2026, but Lionel Messi is nearing the end of his career. They'll need younger leaders to step up, and that's a big question mark for them heading into the next cycle.
It's fascinating to see how these rankings reflect not just current form, but also long-term planning and development. Teams like Germany and Italy are in rebuilding phases, while others like Norway and Japan are banking on youth and continuity.
And it's not just about the big names. Nations like Senegal, Ivory Coast, and even the United States are starting to get more recognition. The global landscape of football is becoming more competitive, and that's exciting to see.
It really is. So, to wrap things up, we've got a world on edge with escalating tensions in the Middle East, a U.S. administration weighing its options against Iran, and a global sports community looking ahead to the next big tournament. It's a lot to take in.
It is, but it's also a reminder of how interconnected everything is. Whether it's geopolitics or sports, these stories are all about strategy, resilience, and the pursuit of goals, sometimes literally.
Well said. And with that, we'll leave it there for today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.